Testing, testing, one, two, three. I hope you can hear me. Um, I took a little bit longer getting to this. It was supposed to be 5 minutes, but I kept on dropping my coffees. Um, because I was about to finish one, and then I was gonna grab another, so I wouldn't have to worry about grabbing another. And like on the way over, I dropped that cup of coffee, finished that one, made the other cup of coffee, and went ahead and came back over to the desk and dropped that cup of coffee. But we're here now, and I think introductions are needed. I am your mother. Some call me mom. You can call me Vic. And I am somewhat of a producer of metal things, things that are metal and or rock. Um, and today, I wanted to just go over my kind of processes as to how I go about mixing uh, this song, Bring Me to Life. I feel like there's a lot of things that you can go off of and have good knowledge with that into like any sort of rock or metal mix, really. If you got your bass, you got your guitars, um, you've got your strings, even like little alternative beats. I'll go ahead and dive in a little here and there as to like my approaches to some things, um, versus like the original uh approach. But yeah, uh, I am going to be covering or helping a friend with this. Uh, Her name is Mia and Wave, and I will go ahead and put a link to her channel. Just give me a second. I need to find it real quick. I should have had this prepared ahead of time, but yeah, just give me 1 second. But yeah, she's helped me a lot with a lot of things, and um, this was basically one of the projects to kind of do together as a token of my appreciation for her helping me out with some stuff. Uh, and she's just a wonderful person, really really cool person. Uh, I will go ahead and link her YouTube for the time. I think that's it. I'm very new to all of this. Okay, yeah, that should be it. Hello, Altranium Plays. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing all right, because I'm doing fantastic myself. Uh, but yeah, I guess we can go ahead and get started with all of this. Uh, okay. Oh, also, there's like no vocals to this. There's no vocal reference. I had to go ahead and do this from scratch because yeah, I couldn't find like I tried to do the original with like the original vocal reference, but the tempos are kind of all over the place. So I had to go off of this karaoke version that I have over here, which is not good in quality to go off of like the instrumentation, but it was good to go off of like for tempo wise because this was they basically had done what I'm doing right now. Um, hey, good to hear, man. Or good to hear. Good to hear that you're doing awesome. I'm doing great myself. I've had one cup of coffee and I'm going into the second cup of coffee just right now. So I'm feeling fantastic. I'm caffeinated and juiced up right now. So I feel great. Thank you for asking. So I guess what we can go ahead and go, I can kind of go ahead and explain the approaches to some of the guitars. As you can see, as you can see, there's quite a bit, and you would think it would be only like, two guitars, but I like whenever if it's a more simpler song, not something that's not as technical with guitars, I like to go ahead and beef up my stereo uh with guitars. So I will go ahead and give you some example. So right here, you've got your my main rhythm that I wanted to use for the song. And we can go back and see what I'm using. Okay, so I'm using the End of All We Know rhythm preset from Gojira X. I like it. I'm using the EQ that it has. Uh, yeah, I found that there was nothing wrong with this. I think I used to use this a lot, so I thought to use it in here as well. And so we got that going on. You know how that sounds. I think I like the hey Fang. So I like how that preset sounds, and I like that as like the main tone for the song. But as I stated before, I like to beef it up if it's not as like crazy intricate with the guitar playing. So I will go ahead and beef it up with highs and lows to fill out that spectrum, the audio spectrum of it all. And I'm not talking about like, EQ wise. That's kind of not what I was going for, but more so the illusion of it's filling up the EQ. And I think you'll understand what I mean whenever I start going in and out between these two. So that's going on. Add it. Take it off. It makes it a little bit brighter, and this is all this is all I'm adding. The octaves. So that's kind of filling out that audio spectrum on the higher end of things. I didn't want to make it too bright. I didn't want it to interfere with the cymbals of the song. So I went ahead and made it a more high mid focus. So taking that approach, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I am doing with the low, because I'm also adding the lows to it and an octave lower. So we're going to hear it by themselves. Add in the lower octave. Take it off. Put it on. It's just ever so slightly adding a little bit more width, I guess thickness too, to it all. And this is all it is. Low volume, just trying to fill in that audio spectrum. But whenever you're doing this, you have to make sure you're tracking everything pretty tightly. All the strums need to be in accordance with whatever you're doing. So, for example, I took out the highs. I felt like I didn't need that high in the verses, but kept the lows. And then but this is the main rhythm. You add the lows. And the great thing about having an 8-string guitar, it kind of gives you a little bit of both of high end and low end, so that it kind of gives that extra punch, that extra grit to it all. So I like doing that a lot. But that's basically what I did with my guitars here. This is the approach that I'm doing. Yeah, if you take out that 8-string, the low guitars, it takes a bit away. But it adds so much whenever it's so little. So that's what I've got going on. Put this back. I keep my raw stems in the same project, by the way. I like to render everything out so that my CPU is not hurting too much. And then the next thing is that I've got bass. The only reason why I have two different tracks is because there's this little part where it wants two notes, and I wasn't able to get that out of Shin's bass whenever I was programming it. So I had to just, put a mix of both in. Because it wouldn't have this, it would just be that, but I'm able to add that for that one little part. So that's the only reason why. But this is Shin's bass. I like how Shin's bass sounds. 8 strings are very fun. I growing up, I hated 8 strings. I was a little metal elitist, and I would always frown against 8 strings. But now, having owned one, I can't go back. I cannot get rid of it. I have to have an 8 string with me. They're just so versatile. Oh, stream starting soon. I need to take that off. Boom. Okay, because we're in the stream. But yeah, I love my 8 string. I have an Ibanez RGD. I know that's just the shape of it, but it's one of the newer ones. It's a gray with golden knobs, and it's got that single coil switch with active slash passive Fishman pickups. And I love it. I absolutely love it, love it, love it. But yeah, and I love, while I won't add or use caffeine, while I won't be using 8 strings as like a main instrument a lot of the time, they add so much to production just by in itself. You can try to artificially make like octave down chords or octave down notes with everything, but it's not the same. It just isn't. I love it. Hey, I'm glad that you're liking it so far. I'm glad it sounds pretty. But yeah, I think stream might be a little bit laggy. Let me know if you think it's a little laggy. But anyway, yeah. So this is the bass, Shin's bass. I chose Shin's bass because I really wanted that whole like finger pick type of deal going on. I think in the original, ignore that. I think in the original song, the bassist is also doing finger picking, and incredible bassist, especially in this bridge part. Let me see. Where is it? Right here. That's a bassist right there. That's a bassist right there. Hell yeah. But yeah. So that's what I've got for Shin's bass. I really wanted to recreate that whole like fluid finger picking. So I have that. For pianos, nothing interesting. I have stock plugins, VSTs. This is called Pianissimo. I've got a cathedral reverb going on. Hammer sounds, I raised it up into 62% instead of the 50 that it starts with. I think added a little bit more sympathetic resonance. I think I took off the chorus, or if not, kept a little bit in. And less bass, more highs. I left the mids as they were. And yeah, I have the solo grand piano sound going on right now. I think this is like the default preset too. So that's what I have. I liked how that sounded. It's a bit different, but I think it's close enough to where it sounds nice. Now, the other thing in regards to production for this song, not a lot of people notice this, but there's a little chorusly flanger little thing going on that a lot of new metal at the time had going on. And I wanted to recreate that, but not take away from the piano. So I added a different kind of piano. Again, it's stock piano, I don't even think I can bring up an actual VST of this. But yeah, it's a acoustic piano from Mixcraft 10 Pro Studio. And what I ended up doing with it, I did some EQing. I used the Rhodes Warmth Lo-Fi preset with an Infinity EQ from Slate Digital. And this is pretty much what it did. I liked it. With pianos and stuff like that, I'm not a whiz at it, so I'll go ahead and go into my own uh, how should I say DAWs capabilities. Well, not my own DAWs, but like other people's presets and stuff like that, and see if I can get any sort of inspiration from there. And I'll tweak it as needed, but I don't think I needed any tweaking. Yeah, this was, to me, this was perfect uh, for that as an EQ. But then here comes, the whole, I guess, quote unquote, sound design of it all. And I just changed it a little bit. I used the lo-fi tape uh, preset with it from Nero DSP using Gojira X again. I'm not using the amp. I'm not using the cab either. No EQ. All I really wanted was the lo-fi tape preset and how it sounded with that. Uh, oh wait, oh, I guess not. I think I was playing around with it, and it's just within the preset. But I think what I wanted really was the chorus. I messed around with the chorus a little bit, and this is what it sounds like. It's got that like new metal corn vibe going on with this. But then you put it with the piano, it really adds to it. Kind of give it a corn vibe for that new metal touch. And I barely heard it, but I heard it and I caught it and I was going to put that in. So I'm glad I have that. It's really cool. And then you got your strings. I guess we can go over here. Not using any fancy library. I'm using my DAW again. And it's not a great DAW. It's a Mixcraft DAW. Yeah, I think they mix really well with each other as it is already. I don't think I would need to do anything like crazy in terms of like mixing moves with processes and stuff like that. Uh, that's also like another philosophy of mine, uh, where it's like if you have a good source base with what you've got as an arrangement with tones and everything, you should you shouldn't be able or you shouldn't want to do too much to it later in the run of the actual mixing phase. You shouldn't. Yeah, that's what I believe, and it's worked out for me thus far. Uh, and a little bit of orchestral strings here to have that glitching effect. I didn't want to automate it too much CPU. Yeah, so that's just there. And then with the alternative beat, um, I got really lucky with this and how I was designing this. This is all stock, by the way. This is all stock. I don't have any sort of special sample packs. I think the only sample pack that I've ever bought in my entire life uh, was for post effects. So that'll be like room blasts for snares and stuff like that. And I think the other one is like I have like lo-fi samples that I tried doing one time, and that was it. The rest is just stock. You can get pretty cool sounds from stock samples and all of that. Oh yeah, here's like some stuff here. I don't want to blow your ears out, so I won't use that. But this is what I have going on for the alternative beat that really gives the intro its vibe. And that's pretty much it. This is just busy stuff as I put it down here. I forget what kind of like sample I was using, but I more than likely took like one chunk like this and then decreased it down. So like it was originally like this, but I decreased it down to like that. Um, I think, and I just put it on repeat because I really liked that one part. And then I added on to like have like a little bit of groove to it. So I put a kick and snare sample. You can kind of hear like a hi-hat in there. I got incredibly lucky with, so I put these two together. I was like, oh, this is already the alternative beat. We're there already. Uh, and then kicks for emphasis. For that. And this is what it sounds like together in this section right here. That's basically like the groove I wanted to go in, and really emphasize on that. But for the snare that goes along with this, it was a little bit trickier. I had different characteristics that I was hearing, so I had this going on, kind of like a regular snare. But I also wanted to hear like a little bit of a light, like after that. So I went ahead and used both of them. Which arguably you could probably use EQ with this, but again, my philosophy is that if you can get it close as possible from the get-go, you don't have to worry about mixing it and pulling your hair about it. But then I also heard like a little bit of a reverse snare in that. It's minimal, but you can hear it a lot once you put it together. So you've got that going on. This is how it sounds with everything so far, with excluding the hats. Create that little swing with that reverse snare. So you got that going on, but then you also need the hi-hats that the song was including. So this is basically what I heard. Busy stuff on the right ear, up strokes, I guess. I don't know how to describe it on your left ear, with a little bit of emphasis on certain parts. And all together it sounds like this. Again, I think I got really lucky with that, with in terms of like stock samples and everything. Let's see what these do. Ignore that. So lo-fi preset with Haas effect. Turn these off and this is what it sounds like. I see. Immediately. Yeah, I wanted something lo-fi, so I used a stock plugin from Acoustica. Used the EQ real quick to design it to be lo-fi. Take out all the lows, take out all the highs, and made it very mid-heavy, like a phone call type of deal. But I felt like it was too focused on the middle of the stereo image. So I was like, easy clap, put on that Haas, and immediately it goes stereo. Turn it off. It's mono, really. Then you turn stereo immediately, and I think it's at a moderate spread. It's basically like a different type of chorus. What Haas is, subtle and more for stereo purposes, but kind of makes it thicker. Because if you just use a regular stereo plugin, it's just gonna make it stereo and not thick. You're gonna lose some thickness from it and quote unquote natural sounds. But the Haas brings that thickness back and or retains it. You're able to hear this. I think I did the lo-fi thing again with this. Okay, this is more of a telephonic. I didn't want to be too mid-heavy, nor take away like those lows. This is what it sounds like without it. Yeah. Haas is from Kilohertz. Yes. I had to learn that it was Kilohertz the hard way, because what I have is a subscription going on with Digital Slate, and I think a bunch of like kilohertz plugins comes with it. And I had no idea it was like mainly for like EDM and electronic music stuff. But I use kilohertz uh, pretty often, I would say, in my mixes, especially for like designing stuff. As you can see, if we do this, this is what you get. You basically get a whole lot of stuff, and it's especially like really handy with just designing different sounds and everything. And typically, if you all you do is mix metal and stuff like that, uh, you don't really get that. But if you're more into like new metal, uh, just things that have more access to electronic stuff, uh, your second instinct is to okay, let's try some kilohertz plugins now because it's just really handy. But okay, and this is basically what I ended up getting. Oh, well, yes. In terms of without the drums, this is basically what you get. In terms of drums, let's see what I used. I tried to keep my drums in the same library as much as possible. No way. What is going on? What is going on? Chat, do you see this? Okay, well, this wasn't happening when I was first using it. But I can tell you exactly what's going on. I was just wanting to have some visual representation. Sorry, chat. But as I don't know if you saw, but the kits that I'm using for my drums are One Kit Wonder New Metal, uh, and I'm also using the Balgren Digital's Trivium drums. Trivium is my favorite band, love them. New AP coming soon, I think literally tomorrow or midnight. Anyway, uh, I think I'm using the kick and snare from New Metal. Almost thought it was on Linux. What is Linux? I'm assuming that you saw the fucking UI that I brought up, but it was all fucked. But anyway, yeah. So I'm using kick. Well, actually, welcome, Seiso-chan. Sorry, I didn't greet you there, but welcome. Uh, but yeah, so I've got the kick and snare that I'm using for this drum kit. I try to make it as dry as possible. I like mixing my things by myself. I don't typically like using mix ready kits within my productions. I will use their samples, but not, them being mixed ready. I won't use them like that. But this is what I'm using. Mostly because I wanted to use that snare room. The room from it, it's very snare heavy. I love that room. It's so good. Very modern. And yeah. And the rest, actually no. I'm also using the toms. The toms are actually really, really nice, and I think I might just make them my primary source of toms for my library with the One Kit Wonder New Metal. It goes really low, but it's also like has a lot of clarity to its notes. You know exactly what they're playing. I feel like a lot of people don't really put too much emphasis on toms, and they just go as low as they can, and it just sounds like kicks, which is fine for like deathcore or whatever, I guess. But I typically like hearing my toms and knowing what the drummer is playing. But yeah, this is basically what it sounds like altogether. Um, Drums are actually a little bit more technical than I thought for this song. I think the drummer was the late drummer for Foo Fighters. Great drummer, awesome. But anyway, and this is what it sounds like altogether. I'll play a little bit. the chorus. Nothing too crazy, very straightforward. So, I think what I'm ready to do right now is start mixing. And what I do immediately is go for my drums, more specifically, my kick. I like having a nice kick to my song. I'm a very kick primary, kick heavy guy. If you don't have a good kick, I'm more than likely not very interested in your music, unfortunately. That's how much I like my kicks. And I have my already set chain that I typically use a lot. Uh, if I can remember what it's under. There we go. Drums kick chain. Uh, and this is basically what it looks like. It's just trigger, infinite EQ, just an EQ, nothing too crazy, and then smash and grab. Smash and grab makes my life easy. I like using it, uh, and then you'll see why. But with trigger, I always like triggering my kicks. I remember the last time I tried doing this song, I was too hung up about making it sound natural. I don't care anymore. I'm going to use whatever I usually do and see what that sounds like, which is usually black kick Z1 and kick 10 Z1. This is typically what I use. Let's hear what that sounds like by themselves. I like that. I always like that. Well, it sounds. See what it sounds like. Context with the kick. I think that sounds good. Just wanted to bring up that little bit of an attack. Okay. That's a little weird here. Okay, it's just the actual kick itself. So in this scenario, I would probably, what was it? The detail. To make sure it catches those. Includes it in. Yes. So like that. I might not want to keep it. We'll see. It kind of sounds like there was a little bit of a mistake with the rendering, but we ball. So I like it like that. I think that sounds like a nice kick. Ignore that. The mix is at 20 and adds a good amount of bass, I would say. And what I usually do is I don't cut out this low part right here completely. I think it's necessary as a kick. You want as much as possible. So I just kind of slope it along and cut that part off, which is typical. I usually do it from here to maybe 30 hertz, but I like to retain as much character of the original source as much as possible. That's just me personally. So I'll leave it like that. And then I'd like to try to find what I call the basketball frequency. It kind of sounds like a basketball or cardboard, and basically want to take that out. And it's usually around this spectrum from like 400 to 600. So this sounds like it's hitting a cardboard box. I want to take that out. All I want, personally, is just that high end attack and that low end thump. That's all I want. So how does it sound now? So I don't know if you can tell, but hear that? Actually, let me see something. I think I forgot to match the volume. Okay, that's matched. Yeah, this is a little lower. It's a little high. Okay, leave it there. So what I like to do too is that after I take some out, typically it lessers the volume. So I'll bring it back with the output gain on this. So immediately you hear that high end attack, which I like. So we're gonna use smash and grab here, and all this is a nice compressor. Uh, a lot of, well, not a lot of people, but a lot of people like to, or people like to go ahead and get really. Thank you, Abelardo. I really appreciate that. Welcome. Thank you for coming. But so you can go ahead and see under the hood what typically are the you know, I guess the mechanics underneath what exactly goes into everything. Uh, which is your 2-in-1 compressor ratio. You can, you know, uh, use the attack or whatever. It's usually at 10 milliseconds, and I like that. I like how that sounds with that. I like how it sounds with a 100 millisecond release. Um, so I just typically just use the normal preset that I have with the kick, uh, and I'll go ahead and use this from here to how I see fit. So I think it has a good enough thump. I'm not gonna use the beef, but I'll use the air and go ahead and use some more 7K. Another thing that I like doing is that I like going with a method of detracting, like extracting bad frequencies first, or frequencies that I don't like, but then I'll add them after. And this plugin makes it really easy to do that. So I added some air, some 7K, but we'll see what happens like in the mix. Immediately makes that kick way more noticeable, way nicer. I love how that sounds. So we'll go ahead and keep that. And usually from here, we'll go ahead and match a saturation to that. I like using that tape saturation, as you can see. What I'm doing with saturation is that you'll hear a lot of people talking about transients. And basically what this does with that quote unquote transient, it kind of softens it, makes it palatable. And what that means is like, if I've got a ugly sounding chord, you're gonna get all sort of like frequencies and stuff like that. But the job as an audio engineer is that I want to have that listener hear that chord without being distracted by like how ugly it sounds, if that makes sense. With the frequencies, and it just like pops out in your ear and hurts you. So with this, with saturation, oftentimes, at least with kicks and transients, it softens that quote unquote. It can make it sound like it's hitting something a lot harder, and makes it not as pokey. So if I were to, this is at 54%, take it off real quick, you can hear how much more pokey it is. Bring it back. Ignore that. So immediately, like if I go ahead and boost this all the way, you'll be able to hear an exaggerated version of what I'm talking about. It sounds like something is being hit really, really hard, but you take out like almost all the transients out. So you want to meet it in the middle of like, I had it at 54%, where you still have a little bit of pokey, but it's like, it gets softened just ever so slightly with that saturation. See how that sounds in context of the mix? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I like to here solo and with context of the mix. Um, and yeah, I dialed it back because I wanted it to poke out just a little bit with the air transients, the 7K. So I took it back just ever so slightly, and I like how that sound. Hello, I use that plugin sometimes, but for kicks and snare, I usually mostly for smash. Uh, Welcome Nezumigi. But yeah, so I like using this plugin as well. With I think nowadays I only use the grab for kick. Everything else you'll see me use it with smash for like snare, toms, rooms. It has a lot more clarity, but for contexts like these, I prefer to use the grab because I just want my kick to just hit me, dude. That personally, I like that. I don't want any clarity. I just want to hear, that little thing. Uh, but yeah, this is my go-to. It saves me CPU and all of that. But I definitely understand why you would use the smash for sure. Um, and I actually, shame on everyone. No, I'm joking. But shame on me big time. But I forgot to compress it. Oopsie daisy. So we'll go back. And usually I'll do it for minus 3 dB of gain reduction. I still like it with the amount of air that it has. Now, see, this is where it gets a little tricky. Oh, Fang said the kick sounds so good now with it. That makes saturation. It makes a lot more sense. Yes, a saturation, especially with like snares, like literally with everything. Saturation is like that almost like a cheat. Uh, and it just makes everything sound more palatable and easy to register as a human, I would say. Uh, and it just softens the blow for everything. I love saturation with everything. You're gonna see if like as when I go through the entire mix, I'll be using it for God knows everything. It might look different, but it's still saturation. But yeah. So I'll keep this. Uh, I'm not gonna match the volume output just yet. So but hang with me. I'm gonna do the saturation. It's gonna look different, but we're gonna try to achieve the same goal. I kind of like it there. Let's see how it sounds like in the mix. You know that. Okay, yeah, I kind of like how that sounds. We're gonna go back to the output. I just wanted to see where it would be like in like, I'm not matching the volume just yet, but more so like where it would be. So yeah, so as you can see, we changed the saturation down to 37.6%. Kept the same amount of air, and I think I still like it the way it is. Now what we're gonna do is match the volume where it came from. So as you can see, I like to look at this, where it's going, it's hitting. I'm gonna try to match that. Low up. Keep it there. And now you're thinking, oh, it's still way too much, but that's why we have this mix knob. I love using mix knobs and everything. I like to keep some natural characteristics, but while like, still processing it. So let's see where we're at. All it is wet and dry signal. That's what mixing means. I kind of like that. Let's see what the context of the mix. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like that. I think I kind of like it like that. Get what you mean. The clipping done on the Smash mode is, I think, good for kicks and snares when you don't use clipping and preamp that you rely via the Discord server. Oh, is it the Discord server? I think there was literally only one other Discord server that I forgot what it's called. I'm so sorry. VMC, VTuber Musicians Collective. Shout out that Discord server. Pretty cool server. I like everyone there. Really cool server. Shout out them. But um, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate that. Hope you like what you're hearing so far. Um, I will say I'm no audiophile, so you probably know a little bit more in terms of like the technical sense of everything. Like for example, preamp, don't even know what that is. But the clipping, I do think I have somewhat of a sense. But anyway, but thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate that. Abelardo. To be honest, I don't speak English, so I don't understand what you're saying. I'm really looking forward to your new song. I think you know Spanish. Gracias, mi amigo. No puedo hablar español muy bien, pero yo quiero aprender. Pero gracias para venir. Thank you for coming. Uh, yeah, thanks guys for coming in. Really cool. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and looking forward to the new song. I am in the works of a couple original songs. You don't know that though. But thank you for looking forward to my future stuff. Thank you for the support. So we continue. Yeah, so I kind of liked how the kick sounds here. Kind of in your face, kind of not. It's there. You'll be able to hear it, and to me, I like that. I like that a lot. Next thing, snares. Um, Ultra Roby, awesome stuff. Love your work. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming by. I really do appreciate that, man. I I really do appreciate the support. You're awesome. Keep being awesome, man. Thank you so much for stopping by. Um, so now we're working on a snare. We got to get that snare chain going on. Okay, and this is basically what it typically looks like. Often these days, I don't even use snare samples too much. It's only like out of necessity whenever I'll use it. If I really wanted to beef it up or get a real crazy smack, more so a ring nowadays. That a lot of times drum libraries don't have that. Surprisingly, uh, I'll go ahead and emphasize it with a chili snare sample from Trigger Two. But usually nowadays, I will use a infinite, just a parametric EQ, um, a transient shaper, which is for that attack, really. Maybe some sustain, um, and smash and grab, baby. Uh, so yeah, over here, what I'll do with a snare, and by the way, a lot of people like to use top and bottom snare as part of their processing, but I know how I like to hear a snare within the drum library VST itself. So I'll usually just kind of design it there. And I just kind of know how I want it to be whenever it comes through for processing, because I usually just make the same moves. Um, yeah, so what I'll do, just cut all this off. You don't need it. I, I I don't understand it when people do this or whatever. You don't need it. You don't need it. You need that attack that's up there, which has awesome attack. I'm gonna look for that boxy frequency or whatevs. Or what I like sometimes to call it like loose. I don't want to have my snares loose. I want it to come through as really tight. So it sounds loose here at least. I don't know if I'm right on that, but this is just usually how I do it. And I won't do too much. I'm only going to take down a dB. This is usually how it is for me. I'll do it like ever so slightly, and the same thing with like accentuating different frequencies, like a smack. I think it has a good decent amount of smack already, so I'm gonna just go ahead and tune in and see like where's that smack. I like it around here, 3.49. I usually go for 3.33, 333, but I like it here right now. I heard it. I like it here. So this is what it sounds like so far. Again, I don't like going too much. I found that if I go too much, it just sounds like frequencies instead of a snare, you know? So I typically just like doing this right here and try to volume match it. And maybe brighten it up, the snaring, the snares, sizzle. Now, sometimes I will go ahead and take this off because the transient designer will pick it up for me with that sustain. It's mostly my work, but we all have a sound that we like. So I don't say anything much about it when you do it. And if you like the sound, that is good to me, man. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. There's a lot of different ways how to achieve different things, and it's basically what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to achieve a fuller sound, you might want to use synths instead of guitars, like I pointed out earlier in the stream. I like using my guitars right here, and for this music, different times I'll use synths. You know, and same thing here. It's like as long as you achieve that sound that you want and it sounds good to other people, it shouldn't matter. Personally, that's just my personal philosophy. But yeah, so I like how that sounds. I and notice how most people will go ahead and talk about this bump right here. Don't need it right now. I've already got so much of it. It's still punching me in my ears, so I'm not worried about it. Uh, but I think I want a bit more attack, so I'm gonna look at that for that transient. I like to not solo it actually. Yeah. So right here, what I did with the transient shaper, again, transients are basically like the attack of whatever you're hearing. So right now, take it off. It doesn't hit as hard. Put it on. It hits a little harder. I like to achieve that with the transient shaper. And what I used to do, I used to achieve that with the grab setting and smash and grab. However, I watched a video by Josh Middleton, and he addressed literally all the problems that I was thinking in my mixes. Like, why I'm hearing the attack of the snare, but I'm not hearing the snare. I'm not hearing that body. I'm not hearing what my snare sounds like whenever I listen to it, like in solo. And I didn't know how to go about that. And he introduced the whole thing about transient shapers and putting that before a less aggressive of a compressor. And I just started running that with that ever since then. Uh, and it's done me good. I can actually hear what my snare sounds like in my mixes now. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. I like how that sounds. Um, okay. Immediately, what I have done is that I've introduced some newer frequencies. I added just a tiny bit of air, tiny bit of beef. What does that entail? A tiny bit of 7K, a tiny bit of 60 hertz. I just like how that sounds. Not that I thought I needed it at first. I just fiddled around with it, and I like how that sounds now. Um, and I like how that snare has that longer sustain with like I'm a big fan of dubstep snares, so that's kind of what I achieve. I don't know. You can hear it a lot more in context. I I personally like that, so that's what I try to go for. So right now, what we're gonna do is go into the saturation. Cooking. Oh, Tensha, hi Tensha, cooking. Thank you, love you. Yes, transient shapers are really good. Most of my mixes for drums consist of transient shapers and Fat Filter Saturn for dynamics. Yeah, I don't have Fat Filter anything, but I do know that their plugins are fantastic. So kind of jealous that you've got that, but hey man, yeah, I bet that sounds great. Yeah, no, the transient shapers honestly kind of a lifesaver because like again, like I mentioned, I have all the attack, but I don't have any of like character with it. So ever since Josh Melton brought that up, I started using transient shapers on my drums too. I have yet to do that with the kick because again, I don't really bother for that exactly. Because I just want to hear dunk, dunk. I want that kick that hit me. I don't want to hear what the kick sounds like personally. But yes, yeah. So I use transient shapers for my toms, my snares now. Yeah, exactly. You get it. You get it, Nezumigi. Use the saturation. Okay, that was a little tougher to see what kind of sweet spot I liked. I liked it at 23.6%. I felt like if I went any more, it would have been like too distorted, too processed. Anything less, it's not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear just a light, dunk, 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 you know. Uh, yeah, that's basically pretty much what it is. Now, I'm gonna volume match it. See over here where it's at. I actually take off the transient shaper. Go off of the EQ that I made. It's not that much more. Bring it down. That should be good. Hear it in context. I like how that sounds. 62.8%. And honest to God, like usually it's at that 75% range with the mixing. But because this is not like a crazy like death metal type of mix that I'm going for, I don't need it to be, that. I don't need it to be ultra processed. So I just I listen, I like it, I'm gonna keep it there. Fat filter is expensive, but it needs to be done. I want to hear the ring of the snare too, not just the smack of it. Though in most metal cases, the full sound of the snare is the room sound. I've actually realized that too. Yeah. Again, I'm only like what a year and a half into the whole mixing thing. I'm still learning, but that's also what I've learned. That modern metal cases nowadays, it's really that room sound that you really want to go for. Like if you got a nice room sound, chances are your snare is going to sound really good. Like you're halfway there pretty much. That's what I've gathered from that too. Uh, yeah, I'm saving up for Fab Filter one of these days. Is so many guitars that I like though. So yeah. But I hear you, man. I'm in totally on board with that. Um, get that tom thing going on. Uh, okay. So we start with EQ with my toms. Yeah, I agree. I definitely need that fab filter. Fab filter is goaded. I mean, there's no ways, two ways around it. Uh, it's like you said, it needs to be done, and I haven't yet to get there. I'm just trying to get the plugins that are like somewhat there. So yeah, you're gonna be tested on this later, Tensha. So you better be taking notes. I better see some reviewed notes from you, man. As long as you hear it, what you think about it, that's great. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. Hopefully, I don't sound too naive with this stuff, but yeah, it's the sound that you go for, and I think we're both in agreement with that at least. Uh, Same thing here, kind of like the looseness and or basketball frequencies for low tom or shells like this, like a kick, uh goes with the same thing with toms. That wobbly like dong, 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 or whatever. I don't want that. I don't want any of that. I want a good like dong, dong, dong. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but you'll see in a bit. Oftentimes I felt like with toms, you just want your high mids really to stick out, not any of the lower or mids, middle mids or whatever. Uh, to me high mids kind of bring that tom out nice enough. Ooh, forgot to volume match. Okay, I think that's pretty close enough. Next thing is the transient shaper. Um, okay, I like. I've noticed that I like doing it with context of the entire arrangement for the attack. What I would want to hear. So I like my toms to be nice and confident. That's the goal for me. I don't want to hear my toms kind of flimsy or whatever. I need that tom player to hit those toms hard, and I want the mix to reflect that. And I took off some sustain so that the ring of that boom like doesn't go crazy. Uh, I want it to be there, uh, present, but not overstay its welcome. Now for this, I usually duck out some more Stixy Hertz. And you have to give me some grace. I am using some old school auxiliary Apple earphones at the moment. I cannot register sub frequencies too well. So please give me some grace. But I like how that sounds in my ears. Compress it. I like how that sounds. That's cool. Saturation. Oh. So for toms, what I like to hear from saturation is again that really emphasized hit, and it just sounds more intense. Uh, and right now, I kind of felt it maybe in around like 25% to like 47.2%. But I like how it doesn't completely take away the transient, but does, like, make it sound like it's hitting harder, that tom harder. Again, I want some confident toms. I don't want them to sound flimsy. Um, I think people should be more accepting to what other people like in their sound and not just actually you have to yada yada yada. Like for me, I just like I just like that Deftones snare sound and just oh dude, back then, I will say this, back then people hated a snare ring. They hated that. But nowadays, it's kind of what you want. For example, like that snare, the dunk, you know, people want that now. I would say, I on I would say back then with Slipknot, Joey Jordanson, people gave him a lot of shit for his snare because it's so high tune. Same thing I would say with Deftones as well. Uh, they would say it sounds like shit, but to me, it's kind of iconic. It's what makes the music the music. Um, hot take: Lars did nothing wrong with that trash can snare. That's my hot take. He did nothing wrong with that trash can snare, and that shit was bass, and that sounded fucking awesome. That's me personally. But again, other people have different preferences. It's what you're trying to achieve. Personally, I think Lars achieved something great with that trash can snare. That's just me though. But no, I definitely understand that. It's an iconic snare sound. High, pingy. It sounds good. I don't know why people. I think it's the same thing with like guitars. Just because you down tune to drop Z, well, maybe I want my guitars to sound fucking low, man. That's what sounds good personally. It adds. You can do so much stuff with different sounds, and it can serve its purpose. And I think the purpose is not to, for example, if I wanted to do 9 string, I'm not trying to be proggy. I'm trying to be productive. I'm trying to go at it more at a production viewpoint of that. I'm not trying to shred on a 9 string. What I'm trying to do is trying to see and achieve a full sound with that. Uh, and to me, I think most people understand that. But yeah, I think people need to kind of like how you said, more accepting of what people like in their sound. And I think people need to be more accepting of what people are trying to achieve with that certain sound. Again, 9 string probably not going to be like super proggy. How should I say this? Unprocessed, periphery, Metallica, or anything like thrashy. It's probably going to be something more like uh chill, like Sleep Token. Something simple, something catchy. But yeah, I am lagged in terms of watching. But yeah, the St. Anger's snare is based. Yeah, yeah, I noticed that. I think the stream itself is a little laggy, but I guess I'll learn about that later. I don't know how that works. This is literally my second stream ever, but sorry about that. Hopefully that we can do something about that in the future. But yeah, uh, yeah, St. Anger snare based. Hell yeah. So from here, we're gonna go ahead and match the volume that we had to the EQ specifically. Okay, I see. Oh no, I had it off. One thing with this plugin is what I don't like is that it kind of turns shortens the stereo image. So I'll go ahead and, like, if I have a left tom, I'll nudge it to the left. And it's like 16% left. What does that mean? Set exactly? Literally minus 16.67. That's what it is. And immediately gets that stereo image again. So we're gonna have to mix. Let's go ahead and see you in contact. Yeah, 60.4%. I like how that sounds. Sleep token is a hot topic for metal people as well. It's all cool. Mm. Actually, as a previous former hater of Sleep Token, actually, I think they're pretty good. No, I think they're pretty good. And again, like it's not. I don't know if they even like advertise themselves as metal. They're just, a couple of dudes that that want to RP some cool aesthetics and have lore behind them, and that's what it is. I think people are looking too into it. They don't have to be super brutal with like a bunch of blast beats and everything. Um, Again, it's exactly how you say. It should serious seriously be people taking in what they're trying to put out. If they're trying to put out a mixed prog fusion of pop, rock, and metal, maybe even funk, take it for what it is. If you think it all structures well, critique that. But if you don't, maybe it's not what you're achieving for, but doesn't mean it has to be bad. You know, I think the production and everything for Sleep Token is great. Personally, again, high snare, really cool. Personally, I like that, but uh, yeah, no, I don't think every metal band needs to be super hardcore, Spirit Box esque, or even like or what is uh, Septic Flesh or whatever. Metal people are just too elitist for metal. Yeah, yeah, but I will say that I think the old heads are dying, and the new heads are coming in. Some people that are more accepting of for what things are. For example, I think Sleep Token really tuned in into a really cool base of people because I think Sleep Token is a really good medium between the pop and metal. And I think a lot of people are gonna want to dive into more different stuff. Sure, you're still gonna have people that are still like gonna be like into like Dayseeker and all of that. But you're probably also gonna be like, well, what makes metal metal? Kind of like what I used to be like when I was younger and go into the history of things. I think it will be like that. So I don't think we have to uh, deal with elitism for too long. I mean, we've already come this far with metalcore. People love Spirit Box, and I think arguably Spirit Box would have been like a topic for hating back in like early 2010s or even early 2000s, really. Um, Hee hee Tencha. But yeah, uh, and I think I like how that sounds. Yeah, I like how that sounds in my left ear. So we're gonna continue. Bring in the tom chain again. Bring this up. Turn this on, or not all of them. Same moves. Cut out all that low end. Don't need it. Don't even think for a second that you might. This is me speaking to myself, by the way. You can do whatever you want. So I'm getting more cardboard here, so I'm gonna take that out. And we're already going into like lower toms, so I'm gonna go ahead and grind this up a bit. That down. Bring this up. So I don't have to do too much work with the smash and grab. Volume match. Bring up a little bit. Yeah, right there. Yeah, so because there's such like low toms, you want to brighten it up just a tad bit, I say 4 decibels. But I'm saying just enough to where it's like you hear what kind of tom it is. Dung, dung. I can hear that note. So that's what I'm doing. Put into full context, bring in the transient shaper. I like that. You smash and grab. That hits like a truck, brother. Seems I'm getting like -5 to -6 dB of gain reduction That's cool. Air. Add more air to that. Hell yeah. Take a little bit of beef out. Show me what we got in saturation. I like that. That sounds intense. That's what I like. Volume match all the way down here. Okay. I like that. Yeah. Now will you listen in context? Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna do the same thing for flow toms. Like what I like with Sleep Token is sounds fresh and how they arrange songs is really good. Like as a person who studied music theory, Take Me Back to Eden has 3 key changes in one song. Oh shit. And how they use silence as a great gateway for sections is really amazing. I have to send twice because YouTube comments don't have a lot of characters, man. No, I get that. Send as much and many messages as you want, as long as like it's not the same thing. But no, yeah, I went back into their earlier discographies because I will say, "Take Me Back to Eden" is like one of those things where it's like, oh, that's pretty cool, but none of the other sections or songs rather had me too interested. Uh, Only because my brain is more like a Neanderthal. I'm very much like, as long as it sounds good and it makes me headbang, I'm gonna like it. And Sleep Token didn't really have a lot of or too many songs uh with that, but I turned on my studious brain, how you say you studied music theory and stuff like that, and I was able to really appreciate what they were able to do with that song, other songs within that album, and even their more previous discographies. Uh, it is a really unique way of arranging uh, their songs, especially with the key changes. Not everyone does that nowadays. I would arguably say that that's more of an Eastern thing to do. More so in like Asian music. For example, like if you were to look at Japanese rock, this key changes up the wazoo, I would say, and that's a mainstream thing. You do that in Western music, it's like okay, you've already reached a niche, and I think that is weird for that, music in itself is like that. But no, the way they arrange their music is really cool, and I like also how the use of silence, and I would also use the way they structure songs, especially in their first album. I think is very worshipy. I don't know if you've ever listened to Christian music a whole lot, but growing up, I used to listen to Christian music a lot, and the way Sleep Token used to do their first album was very reminiscent of that. Uh, they start off really small, really silent, and they build up a lot, and they like to repeat phrases to really emphasize the messaging and all of that. And it's worship. And I know I'm not a huge fan of Sleep Token, but I know worship is a thing of theirs, which something I can appreciate that they're trying to achieve. Again, I'm not a huge Sleep Token fan, uh, but for what they're doing is cool and it is fresh. No one else is doing it like that. Because there are bands like Dayseeker that are doing pop, but they're not doing it the way Sleep Token is. Sleep Token has their own unique sound, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, man, I would say that they are more progressive. Not saying progressive metal, but just progressive. Yes, exactly. It's prog. Just because like I wouldn't say like I don't know if they advertise themselves as anything as like metal, but like yeah, it's prog. It's hella prog. I do Christian music, man. I've been playing for a church since high school. Hell yeah. Yeah, I used to do that stuff a lot. And again, like it's very reminiscent of like how, ballads like that in Christian music is also like that with Sleep Token in their first album, at least. Like, it's very like the emphasis on words and building up, into this music escalation of sound, very worship like, and that's what they're trying to do. I would say Dayseeker and Bad Omens is more of a modern metal that has taken more of a pop turn. Yes, exactly. That's why I say it's like they're like people will probably stick around with like Bad Omens or Dayseeker, those who got into Sleep Token. But that's why I'm saying that like Sleep Token is it's still its own thing. It uses pop elements, but I wouldn't say they're a metal band either because they just use metal elements here and there too. They just use a little bit of everything. So it's how you say a progressive band that through and through. And I think that's where people just don't understand that and they can't wrap their head around. They have to have like some sort of a base of what it's supposed to be and then add on to that. But when Sleep Token does something else where it's just like, no, we're going to take bits and pieces here and there and put that here and there and just make it work, they don't know how to process that and they don't know how to accept it. It's like how you say, people just need to be a little bit more accepting of what the artist is trying to do. So hell yeah, man. I'm glad. I'm glad I'm able to have this conversation. This is a good. I like this. This is really cool. Not a lot of people are able to understand, the difference within like metal music and what artists are trying to achieve and stuff like that. Coming from a former Sleep Token hater, by the way, too. That's what I. That's what I mean. Like it. Like if you're a fan of music, you'll listen to anything and you'll give anything a chance and try to come at it from the artist's perspective. Basketball slash cardboard frequency. Take a lot of that out. Brighten that up. I like to give my a slope that is a little bit more gentle. Okay, I think I like that. Volume match the original. Cool. Get that attack in. Smash and grab. Go ahead and press that. I keep forgetting to do that first. Ooh. Crazy. Yeah. Tame that low end. Okay, this is a little different. We'll continue because I still think there's too much low end to it. Sorry, I heard a motorcycle outside, so I don't know where I'm at. I think that's a nice little sweet spot right there. Um, so let's go ahead and volume match to the original. It's right there. Okay. Bring these back. Okay, and then we'll mix it. The taste. I like it at 66%. I like it there. Now I might just go back and tame it some more. What I like to do a lot after I do mixes is I go ahead and go into my truck and see how that bass sounds in there with the sub. So if anything, I'm not gonna touch it right here just yet, but if anything, I might go ahead and I might go ahead and put a dynamic EQ so that whenever it does hit, it's not too overwhelming. Because I have had tom problems like that. Whenever I look back at it, I don't do anything crazy. I kind of just keep it here, attack 1 millisecond to release 10 milliseconds. I will go ahead and maybe something like that. I like to catch it like that. Um, maybe. So I'll keep it off for now because I think as a low tom, I still want those subs. It has its purpose, but I just cannot tell as of this moment if it's too overwhelming or not. I think that sounds pretty good on individual tracks so far. Um, yeah, like Sleep Token is about their lyrics and how they paint the lyrics via the arrangement, and it's just had how that people hate on things in general and they don't understand it. I'm more of a I listen and try to understand what bands put up because everyone just wants to make music. Exactly. It like it'd be different if like mm, actually no. I was about to say it'd be different if it was back then to make metal music for the sake of like sounding hard or whatever. But it still goes on now. But I would argue that back then people were a lot more accepting of what kind of music uh you would put out. Like for example, Rush. Rush is like a legendary band and by no means orthodox. Like they were again, they themselves were very prog rock. Uh but they were able to still make stuff mainstream and it was just different. It was just super different, but people still vibed with it. And I think that's what people need to do more nowadays is just try to see what the band is trying to put out there and then from there if you vibe with it you vibe with it and you're sticking along for the ride, but it's not like it shouldn't be crazy objective where it's like no, this shit sucks, stop being a band. Like no, that's not cool. That's not, you know, it's not cool as a music artist or someone that appreciates music to do that. I don't know, personally. uh yeah, people are kind of weird nowadays with that and they get a little too stuck in the sauce, lost in the sauce with it all. And they think like it's kind of like a something subjective when it really isn't. Uh yeah. I try to be more like that. I try to be, you know, a listen first, see what they're trying to do. Other times I do try to like sometimes I'm just not in the mood for music analysis. And sometimes I just want to hear like, oh, I like this breakdown, dong 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 dong, something like that. But I'll never ever ever shit on a band or music that I don't understand quite yet, if that makes sense. This is what it looks like for my tom bus usually. Some sort of de-stressor compressor. Sometimes I'll mess with the settings. Like I like to use a 2:1 ratio, keep it nice and clear. I don't know. I don't know what these do, but I use them. And sometimes it's a hit or miss with these settings. Sometimes I like them like this, sometimes I don't. So let's see. Let's play around with it. This is without, this is with it. So I'll go ahead and mix it in because I kind of like it. I like how that sounds. I go ahead and use a limiter right here to kind of control what we're doing. So the original. Okay. I kind of want to keep that stereo image as much as I can with toms and catch like those transients and everything. I like that. Virtual tapes. Saturation. This is another form of saturation. Saturation. This is another form of saturation. And I like it. Sometimes I'll just use it right here. I've noticed that the machine type with 1.5 inch 2-track or something, I don't know, 2-inch to 16-track, they have like the different spectrums that it saturates. So right here, it's straight up mids. This is high mids. And depending on the context of the mix, I'll go ahead and go from there. I like the high end. I think it like gives it a nice character to the toms. Yeah, I don't really analyze music, but I just hear it sometimes because listening and working with it for so long. By the way, nice talk, man. I will be working now. I hope you get very nice productivity with your project. Yeah, thank you so much, Nezumigi. Thank you for the talk. I hope we're able to talk like this again, literally about anything. I really appreciate you coming by, and I hope you have a great day with your work and everything. Not sure where you're at in the world, but yeah, I hope you have a good one, man. Stay safe, be careful. Uh, yeah, have a good one. Thank you for coming by. I like that. I also put it here. I know it's just one tom, but I like to do the exact same thing. Keep it very uniform. It might be overkill, but I will be the judge of that. Okay, I like that. It might be a little too much, so I might do this. Lower it down. How does it sound in the context of this? I think that sounds okay. Might bring it back up. I do the exact same. I know I'm copy and pasting, but it's like, you know, it's the same thing. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, you know what? Let's just take these off and start with scratch. Bus. Turn that off. We don't need that right now. Turn off the limiter. See how the de-stressor works. I'll even use less of a de-stressor. De-stressor. I'm just trying to catch everything for the toms and still keeping that stereo image. What does it sound like without that compressor? So I can use the limiter. Lower it down a little bit. I like it there. Virtual tapes again, more saturation. High end, high mid. I like that. That's pretty cool. Probably not as crazy as I wanted to be loud. I just want it to be present. And I like that. I think that sounds pretty cool. Uh, Now, as of like recently, this is kind of like my favorite part is the rooms, because the goal with the rooms is that you want it to sound pretty. Uh, like Nezumigi was previously stating, he or they, don't know what the gender is, but they were stating that as long as you have like a nice snare room or just a nice room in general, that's a lot of what the drum tone is and what it's about. Um, that with the overheads too. So I'll go ahead and start with overheads. I don't know if I have overheads. No, I don't. So I figured as much that I don't have a preset for that, but all I usually do is just smash and grab. Put on the room setting, or rather the overhead setting, and we work like that. And notice how I have these tracked separately. Sometimes if I like my library and I'm familiar with the library, I go ahead and use however I want the library to be beforehand, and then just use it all as like one overhead track and mix it from there. But because this is a different kind of song that's like ride cymbal heavy slash hi-hat, close hi-hat, close ride cymbal, I had to move it a little bit. And I'm not sure how it's going to sound within the mix with just this. So I like to have control of the volume automation and see where I have with that. So that being said, let's go ahead and see what this sounds like. Compress it. So the goal with compressing these overheads slash room is that you want to be able to hear everything. You want to be able to compress it to where it's like you hear everything that's going on. And I like to hear the snare. I like to hear that ride. I like to hear that kick. So whenever any of those aspects are working, I want to be able to have that jump out in the compressor and show me what is reacting. So right now, you hear the ride, but you're able to hear that snare room or kick pop out. Take away those lows a little bit. So, and then I like to go ahead and use the air function with context as to everything, because sometimes the cymbals don't need air. Sometimes they need less of it. So we'll go ahead and see what that happens with that. And I would agree with that. It needed a little bit less air saturation. So if I have the saturation here, I'm able to like what happens is that you're able to dock that ride a little bit and bring out more of that snare hit. At least that's what I'm able to hear. Now the important part, volume match. But it's like with the compressor, without it. So right here is about a lot of like the volume is at. So let's go ahead and see how that is. Okay, let's see that within context. So the goal is to not go 100%. If anything, you just want to bring everything in just a little bit more with overheads. because without it, there's not that glue. You're not able to hear everything, but with this, it kind of brings everything out just a little bit more. You're able to hear more of what's going on in that overheads. And I kind of like how this sounds. You're able to hear that hi-hat. It's nice. You're able to hear that ride. It's not overbearing. But the important part, you're able to hear those cymbals hit. That part. That's important. Now on to the room. Don't have I just use smash and grab too as well. Going to room. Solo this. Same approach. You want to be able to compress everything so that you can hear most things. I've come to like where in my rooms and overheads, whenever that snare hits, it's able to duck those cymbals just a little bit. At least in contexts like these where it's not like blast beating or whatever. Usually I like to have that snare rim come out and jump out at you. Not jump out like crazy, but you know, it makes room. I like that. And pick out some of the low end. I like that kick to be present but not overbearing, so I don't like to hear thumps like in my mixes. It will add on, so that's why I kind of cut back on that. Air, air and saturation. I like, or air mostly. What's the context of it? Immediately, whenever I'm hearing the ride, that air gives it a nice shine to it, to everything that I'm hearing. Now we're going to see what that does with the saturation. So it sounded nice with the ride up here, but with context with everything, it was too much. The frequencies were too much, so I only just gave it a little bit. It still sounds nice in my opinion. Go back, volume match it, at least sensibly. So around here is where I'm trying to put everything. Yeah, on the U. Okay. Because again, we're gonna use this mixing up. So, context. Immediately, you can hear that snare room come out. Hear that? Take out the mix. It's like night and day. You can hear that. Oh yeah. So for bus processing, I think I do have a room. Room's bus chain. Yes, I do. I like using the SSL bus compressor. I think it allows, like, it's probably gives me everything. It gives a nice characteristic. It's able to bring everything together, and still be pretty clear as well, I would say. So I usually like to do 2-to-1 ratio or maybe a 4, but in this case, I will do 2-to-1. I like to keep it pretty clear as much as I can. Okay, so minus 6 or 6 dB of gain reduction. I have yet to use the makeup, but the attack, the release, uh, I like how this sounds. What I tried to achieve with this is that um, I'm having that quote unquote pumpy feel, and what translates for me is, again, you're hearing those cymbals hit and everything, but you're also hearing that snare room cut through every time you hear that. There have basically everything shine whenever it needs to shine. And these are the settings that I create with that. And now we go ahead and volume match. So immediately you hear everything like just come in all together. But we're not going to use all of that. Right? I like how that sounds. Enemy saturation. Okay, let's do something here. I like it like that. Yeah, so with the saturations, like this already has a lot individually, so I go ahead and, like, don't do it too much because I think, yeah, really like that. As you can tell, I'm already lagging. I'm sorry, but and you'll see here I have the raw uh of everything that I have. I like to layer it and sneak it in for more tone of it all. This is a friend's tip that he gave me. We both like Will Putney, and this is apparently what Will Putney does with his drums. And, well, we're both fans of his drums, so we both started doing that. And I like it. It sounds like this once you add it in just a little bit. At least this is how I do it. like that. Adds a little bit of a 3D figure to it. I'm gonna go ahead and render this, so I save a little bit of more CPU. So that's like bulk of my mixing stuff is definitely like uh drums. You got good drums, you're able to get uh a already decently sounding mix. If your drums sound pretty good, I would say. Um Not a lot of people um because like if you even if you have like really good sounding guitars and if your drums don't sound very good, people are not going to want to tune in more than likely. I like that. I like that a lot. Um, Next thing, drum bus. Kind of a cheat whenever it comes to mixing drums, but it has everything that you would ever want to need. Honestly, uh, I usually have pass filter at 30 hertz all the time. Uh, this is modeled off for compression wise. It's modeled off of this SSL uh, uh, bus compressor. Uh, Thank you, Tensha. But yeah, so the compression is based off of this bus compressor. I'm pretty sure the first one though, not this one in particular, but um and again, this is what I do. Just saves me CPU and time. Again, you're able to hear everything kind of duck out once everything hits, and that's kind of what I want. Thank you, Ultra Roby. But yeah, this is how the compressor reacts. Add a bit of saturation. Like how that sounds. I go for the tone, and what I've noticed with this is that it brings out either the rooms more or your like actual like straight up individual kick and snare more. So let's go ahead and see what we prefer. Let's use the context actually. I tend to like a little bit more tone to it personally. And then you got your attack, how hard you want it to hit. Yeah, I like that. Just a little bit of attack, a little bit more. Salt. I've seen a couple of videos and apparently it processes as like a little bit more high end, a little bit more thump to your EQ. So let's see how much we would want. Okay, see that? I already felt differently once I put on the salt. I turned back the tone. That was a little bit too much. And now the mixing knob, because we're mixing. And that's typically where I would like it. 70 to 75%. Sometimes maybe even 80. But we're not done yet. Arguably, probably one of the most important things you need to do for mixing rock and metal drums to gain that 3D sound is parallel compression. I never really understood this and how people did it, but this is the way I do it. I get a send and I send every individual track and or buses to that send. including the layering of the raw drums. They go for about 100% or so. And I'll start off here. It's kind of like a blank slate for what you would want uh, in drums and what you would like to hear. So we go all the way down. And what you should be able to hear, actually, is the drums themselves again. What you have going on. But for situations like these, maybe I want more toms, maybe I want more snare. Parallel compression is basically whatever you would want more of from what you already do not have in the regular drum track. So I think I want a little bit more overheads and rooms, so we're gonna probably have more emphasis on that. That's typically what I would use parallel compression for. Less kick. And I think I like it like that. I think I like it like that. Go to drum bus. Gonna go into slam mode. This is usually what we use. I use for parallel compression. And I'll compress the shit out of it. Like that. It's the same thing. My philosophy with compression and the rooms, but even more extreme. I wanted a little bit more of the characteristic from kick and snare. I wanted to saturate it up, make it sound kind of stupid. Add the attack there, and then lastly, salt. High pass filter at 30 hertz. And I leave this at 100%. Rarely I'll ever like back it off. And now what we do with these, all right, I'll go ahead and, yeah, that's fine. I'll turn these back into track volumes so that anytime in the song I'll automate it however I want. So I'll bring this back, solo this out. And I'll add that in a little bit. And it's supposed to give you like more of a fuller sound, kind of like the same approach with guitars. There's 3 different guitar layers going on here. So it's kind of like the same thing with drums. You're bringing up the characteristics that your track already doesn't have and just making it fuller. So let's mute it. Add it in. Immediately you kind of get more of a 3D sound with the rooms and everything. And there'll probably be more stuff like, snare rooms and stuff like that. But as of right now, I don't think I need that. I kind of like how this sounds. I like how that sounds personally. So I think that sounds pretty dope. Let's mix to new audio track as well with these strings. Save up some CPU. So now that I'm done with my drums, and the goal for this mixing stream is to do as much as I can, which will probably, we'll see, be only up to guitars and bass. Depends how fast I'm able to do it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so we're gonna have to render these out. Go ahead and locate the bus. Because what I like to do is I like to keep the raw midis. Um, and I'll label it as like R orchestral strings, as like this signifies this is the raw. And I'll go ahead and put it in the raw bus and keep that muted all the time, all the time, all the time. Yeah, as you can see, like all of this is there. I do that so that I can save the automation and whatnot. Um, okay, do that to save GPU. I keep on saying that CPU. Oh, I think, yeah, I think we can continue. So going into guitars, there's a whole bunch of guitars. I already kind of have this going on. What do the lead chords do? I kind of forgot. Clean. Sort of. How does that sound? Yeah, so the lead chords, it's like kind of to emphasize that arpeggiating guitar. Cool. I think I'm gonna keep the radio guitars within under these this guitar bus. Um, I think, yeah, I think I'm gonna keep that in. Uh, Now most people, and I don't think I'm gonna do this right now. Uh, but most people would like to EQ each and every bus. Uh, I'm lazy. I don't think I'm gonna try to do that because the goal with these guitars in the first place was to sound it like one guitar. I'm not trying like, to make different guitar parts for whatever. So, and this is the beauty of mixing, we're gonna try and see how that works out for us by processing them as one. Oh man. Oh no. Why would you do that? Guitar chain. And the difference between the guitar chain that I have and a guitar bus chain is basically this. So basically, all it would be is like compress it ever so slightly and then using Soothe, which we might do, might not. Right now, I'm not very interested in it. I'm gonna go ahead and try to mix it as one guitar. So this is what my chain looks like typically. Um, I probably won't even need the multi-band compressor because multi-band compressing, I usually just use it for palm mutes, and I don't think this song has any palm mutes, so we're just gonna ball with it though. For brightening up the guitars, I like to use it in context. Use that bell. Turn this on. See what it needs. Yeah, if I do it any more, one more decibel, it's a little too much. So I'm gonna keep it with at 7K. Or let's see what's better, 10 or 5K. I like 8.37K. I think that's actually sounding better right there. So now that I know how that Brighton guitar sounds, I'm gonna go ahead and see what I like a little bit more in terms of high mids. And sometimes I don't even like adding high mids. I like to take them away. And I think it sounds better like that. Let's see. Okay, I learned that 1 dB is better than 2 dB. 2 dB. So I'm gonna keep it like that. And I think I like the 1.5 Q for these notches. I like that. And then from here, damn, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I just can't stop letting you know how much I vibe with your style, LMAO. It sounds so good. Hell yeah. Very excited to hear the finished product. I'm excited just as much as you are. This is a great song and a great nostalgia song, and I'm glad that you like my style. I really appreciate that because I feel like a lot of people nowadays have a certain style that is very orthodox, and I'm not saying that I'm going against the grain or anything like that, but I try to simplify it as much as I can for others because I'm a simpleton. I'm a simple person. So I'm really glad that you like and vibe with my style and how I go about things. I really do appreciate that. You're awesome, Ultra Roby. But I'm glad that you're excited to hear the finished product. Because I am too. Yes, the good old 2010 YouTube tutorials. Yes, exactly. Dude, that's exactly like how I came up and learned my whole mixing philosophy and everything. It was with Jordan from Hardcore Studios. Um, he's just such like a laid back guy. Keep it simple, stupid, and yeah, that's and most of my philosophy comes from him, and it's working out. It saves me from pulling my hair out. I don't like doing crazy fancy EQ moves or anything like that. I'm very much like him. I like to keep everything as good of a source from it of it all, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I'm glad you vibe with me, man. I vibe with you, hella. Okay, right here. Let's see how we feel about low mid frequencies. So I'm gonna. I think I like a little bit of a boost within that 1.5K around there. Just to have it a little bit more foolery, if that makes sense. I don't mess with this part right here because usually I'm just gonna deduct it with a parametric EQ. I like to see what I'm dealing with there. But as regards to like adding frequencies, I don't like to look at it. I like to hear it because, yeah, your eyes like to play tricks on you sometimes. So here comes the compression. I like to use this red compressor, FG401. It's a little bit more aggressive. Use a 4:4 ratio for attack or for release. And I like to typically do like -1 to -3 dB gain reduction. Okay, there's a little bit of a palm mute there, and that's why it kind of sounded weird, but vibe with me if you're vibe with me. Go with the original. Okay. Turn down that makeup just a little bit. Turned it down too much. Okay, and then we're gonna mix it in. So with compressors on guitars, it's a little bit harder to hear what exactly you're doing. Um, but just mess around with it some more. Is my advice. In regards to like mixing and all that, because all it does is that the way I've always been describing it, it's like a bow on a present. You're kind of bringing in whatever is out, and you're kind of reining in just a little bit on the characteristics and stuff, so that it's not too pokey or anything like that. And typically I do like 25%, sometimes maybe a 50% in regards to that mix knob right there. It just really does depend. Um, yeah. So we'll go into the limiter. I shouldn't have done that. I like how that, like, I usually don't do this with the limiter, but I thought it needed more in volume, so I gave it a boost of almost 2 dB, 1.5 dB around there. And I like how that sounds. So for a parametric EQ, this is what I'm going to do. Again, I go back to, I don't like cutting uh, the sub information like completely. I cut back because I think every part of the spectrum is necessary, and I do this on purpose to make it as low as possible. Because to me, that's a more fuller sound. Because whenever people are listening to the music, you're probably not going to get like an audio file that's like listening. At least right now with me, with my music, I'm not going to get an audio file that's going to listen to on really nice headphones or anything like that. So I'm not really concerned about it. I'm more concerned of what your average listener will hear, and that's why I don't have really great headphones as starting my mix references. But I like a little bit of thickness in the stereo. um, Sorry if this has been asked. Have you got a vocalist in mind for this? I don't know how to pin a comment, but let me see. Pin message. I believe I've pinned a channel. Um, it's not a secret. I asked her already if she minds I stream all of this process or whatever. I don't know if this is gonna be on my channel. It might be on hers. It might be her project, but it might be just me gifting her. I don't know if it's gonna be like both of us. I still don't really know about that, but this is basic. We're both working together on this. I just pinned it, so that's gonna be her. That's her channel, and she's gonna be with this project right here. Uh, but yeah, I'm really excited to hear her on this track, whether that's like an us project or her project. Either way, I think she's gonna kill it. I love her voice for this type sort of stuff. And I've been meaning to do that with her, and she's like brought it up with like Bring Me to Life. I was like, oh, I've been wanting to do that. So hell yeah. You're gonna assign one video to multiple channels now, though. I'm unsure if it's an A/B testing or whatever. I'll check her out real quick. Yeah. No, I think I know. I think I know what you're talking about with the collaboration thing. Um. Oh, you're right. Okay. No, yeah, you got a point. You made a point, and I like that point. So yeah, it'll probably be like that. Um. But yeah, it'll probably be like that. Yeah, where it's like both her and I in collaboration video. Uh. But yeah. Yeah, collaboration. Hell yeah. Yeah. No, I forgot a second there too. But yeah, the collaboration thing. It's really cool. I like that little thing that they added there. Um anyway. So right here, it is a little muddy, or I think it's a little muddy. We'll find out. Let's see what it does. So another thing um that I've learned is that if you want to dip out some sort of like muddying frequencies like this, close to 200, 250, that's usually what it is, but because I'm trying to fill out the spectrum, just taking a little bit away. But adding a little bit more of 60 to 70 hertz. Again, I want that low end. I like the low end, so I'm gonna keep the low end. So I add that back just a little bit. Hey, she sounds pretty good. Also worked with Project Epsilon, who I also love to listen to. Thanks for subscribing to her. Looking forward to this. Yeah, yeah, no, she has a lot more songs with Epsi. Yeah, Epsilon, goaded. I like that dude a lot. Shout out to him. He's actually one of my inspirations as to um what I could possibly do with arrangements and stuff like that. Super inspiring guy. His workflow is impeccable. Super workaholic. Well, not workaholic, but like he's had like crazy amount of projects open. I've seen it before, and it's he's a very capable guy. Really cool, and yeah, hell yeah. Glad that you subscribed to her, to Mia as well. Uh, yeah, the projects that they've worked on, really cool. We've also went into a chorus battle together. Her parts were awesome. She's a doll. She's also really lovely to interact with. Really cool person. Love her. But yeah, really do encourage you to check out some of the stuff that they put out together for sure. So some of the sizzling stuff. Um, the only times I won't cut it out is with like lower strings, like an 8 string or whatever. But now that we're up in toning, it's going to be more of a sizzle. It's going to be way more apparent, and it's going to be in the way of cymbals. So I'm going to try to cut that out. Yeah, that sizzle is going to be around 20K. Yeah, you want it to be a very mid focused type of vibe and have that cymbals come out on top in your stereo image. And then we're gonna fish frequencies. I know a lot of people like don't like that. You want to know what you're going for. I say no. I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm dumb, so I'm gonna look for it. And what I like to do, how I like to do it, is I put it up 5 dB, and I look for it amongst the entire mix. Same thing here. I usually do this a couple of times. You know what? You know what I'm gonna do? I think. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna target this entire area. Let's see what happens. I'm still hearing a little bit of particular whistling. Let's see where that's at. We'll definitely do. Hell yeah. So right here, there was a lot of stuff going on with whistling in the higher up above 2K, around 3K, maybe 4, 3.5. But yeah, so I just kind of pick out what whistles sound worse and just try to notch those out a little bit. Some people will freaking nuke it, don't nuke it. There's a reason why the guitar is, distorted and aggressive and heavy. It's because frequencies like those are a little harsh, but you try to notch the more harsher ones out. How does the palm muting sound? I'll keep that. So we'll go ahead and take off multi-band compression. I don't think we'll need it. Saturation, saturate it up. Yeah, so oftentimes with slates, tape saturation, it boosts up the output as well. So I'm going to try to match what it was before. I think I like how that sounds. Okay. Man, I am lagging. I'm lagging. The CPU is crazy. Usually, what I would do is restart my computer, but I don't think I can do that and keep a stream up. So we press on. I'll be rendering it out anyway in a bit. So what I like to do is for songs like this, something that's more melodic, something that's not as intense, crazy, or anything like that, I like to use Soothe. Uh, I'll have the depth at 0. And I keep everything else like pretty standard. I use the flat start preset. I don't use anything too crazy with Soothe in regards to like sharpness, selectivity, all those little attack release stuffs. I leave it alone. My main concern is the harsh frequencies and trying to soothe it out. So, and then I'll mix it up a little bit. So let's go ahead and see. Uh-oh. 1 second, my computer is kind of pooping. Okay. Before my computer crashes, I'm gonna try to save this. Stop, computer, please. Give me 1 second. Yeah, please. It should be fine once I render out the guitars and everything. But right now, yeah, it's struggling. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so right here, um, oh man, am I gonna? Okay, I like to do this usually at 4K, 3K, stuff like that. Uh, I find a lot of my harshness here. Select the band 3. Come on. Come on, you can do it. I might just go ahead and render out the guitars as is and put Soothe on them later. Or not later, but like, you know. Okay, hold on. Yeah, dude, it's like the only thing that's stopping people from mixing and stuff like that is the fucking like the specs of it all, and that's the most frustrating thing. Stop! Yeah, I'm gonna take out Soothe and render out the guitars so that it'll be easier to go ahead and do Soothe and stuff like that. Okay, all right. I'm gonna turn off Soothe. We're gonna save this. And go down and mix down the stems. Um, track 3. Guitars. Oh wait, I forget that I need to bump up the master. The 0 dB. Nah, check none. Don't look at that. uh, let's see. Okay, yeah, I think this is a good folder to put that in. Mix. Hopefully you can still hear me, but I don't remember his exact workflow, just that it didn't sound conventional. Yeah, so actually he's participated in some like course battles and stuff like that. And this is where he actually blows my fucking mind. It was no, Tetra, don't look. But his workflow, like at least for vocal mixing, blew my mind. Like just how like he kind of was able to mix like I think it was like 20 plus vocals, or at least like close to 20 people, and he was able to just kind of like, you know, map it all out. He made a whole chart and everything. I don't remember where it's at. Uh, but I saved it on my phone because I'm bad at saving stuff on my computer, on my pooter. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's wacky, and he just inspires me to, you know, just try shit and be better. Uh, yeah, great guy, really cool. I want to know. Me too. No, you guys can't know. You guys can't know. Too bad. So sad. Ha 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 ha. Kojo, what are you doing here? Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. I appreciate you too, Chin Tencha. So as I like start processing out like my processed stems, I call it, I'll go ahead and make another bus that will go ahead and, oh no, I put in the raw stems. I'll put my processed stems, quote unquote, and processed stems. Just in case if I need to like, you know, grab it real quick. I'll put Soothe here, and I'll go ahead and copy it here. I wasn't able to finish it, but boom. Uh-oh. Unsolo that. So we should be able to do better with guitars. I don't know why it's so slow. Cool. Me too. Heart. I heart you, Tensha. I heart you so much. You silly bean. You're a silly bean. Both of y'all are silly beans. Okay, so we're continuing on with Sooth. Oh, my computer! And we kind of go across a little bit to see what's worse. Oh no, Ultra Roby. SMH my head. I use that phrase all the time. Oh, sorry, buddy. It happens. I'm so sorry. But I'll have you know, it makes sense. Tencho's my significant other, so it was bound to happen. I'm so sorry. But you can always reclaim. Just saying. Anyway. So bypass. Uh I forgot how this works. I'm not too versed in it to where it's like if it's lagging like crazy, I know exactly what to press or whatever. But give me 1 second. Benjamin Parrish, welcome in. I think I know who you are. I think I know who you are. I think I know what y'all are. Yeah, Ultra Roby. Yeah. Am I pressing these things right? It doesn't. Okay, hold on. There we go. I think I need to press this band. Okay. 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 And then from there, I usually mess around with that mix knob a little bit to see how much I want of that soothe. Because I don't want to completely soothe it out because it sounds like it doesn't sound like a nice aggressive guitar anymore. It kind of loses its aggression. So thank you, Killjoy. Thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. No, but I really do appreciate y'all being here. So with the mix, I usually put it somewhere from 20 to 25. So now I got that, I'll label this as P guitars, as in process guitars. And I'll put in that it was soothed out. So I know exactly what's going on. And I'll go ahead and mix to new audio track because I'm trying to save my CPU as much as I can. Jake, what's up? Hi, Mom. Can I get my weekly chug allowance? Jake, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? Okay. I'm gonna let you know. I don't know. I'm like super new to streaming. I'm new to the internet for the most part, so I don't know what a chug allowance means. But thank you for coming. Please enlighten me. What the hell does a chug mean? Um. Oh, wait. Do you mean like a guitar chug? I don't know. Please enlighten me. But thank you for coming. Chug guitar. Chug. Okay, okay, okay. All right, all right. Okay. Sorry. I thank you. Thank you for uh, telling me what that meant cuz I'm kind of dumb. Let's hear the chugs. The people want chugs. You are our mother. Give us our allowance. Oh, hey, our stream's going to be regular-ish. Would love to hear more progress. So, chugs. There's not a lot of chugs. I'm so sorry, Tensha, my sweet. Uh, yeah, there's not a lot of chugs in this song. It's Bring Me to Life, man. You're going to hear the orchestra. Um, give us our allowance. I will give you an allowance every time I stream. I give you one chug every now and then. Killjoy, down boy. Um, Ultra Roby. So streams, I will say they're going to be regular-ish for the certain project that it is. So I'm going to try to do like, for example, this instrumental. If I don't finish it all today, which kind of seems like that, um, I will be continuing it on the next week and we'll finish it then. I can't say that for literally all of my instrumentals that I'm going to do. Um, so yeah, it'll be kind of like a series for like a certain song. Um, yeah, at least that's how I would think of it to be. I think that that's a pretty fair deal because I will say streaming already kind of takes more time than I would usually do, and I'm able to go faster because I'm able to restart my computer and less CPU. It allows me to do a lot more. But um, yeah, for like again certain things, uh, like this for certain arrangements, certain songs, I will be doing like a series, quote unquote, and I will be doing every step of the way. I will not like I'll probably listen to it and listen back in the car as most people would, but I'll make sure to make those changes every time I stream. So yeah, and literally up to the mastering process and even putting vocals, mixing vocals and stuff like that, which I will also be working on a vocal mix this Sunday. I made a mistake on the scheduling. It's not going to be Saturday. It will be this Sunday on vocal mixing, not necessarily with instrumental mixing, but vocal mixing. So I plan to do stuff like that so that people can know and learn, you know, because I'm not the most technical fellow out there. I'm not the most I guess audio like the big audio file or whatever. But I want people to know that you can be like me and still get results and stuff like that. So yeah, this will be a regular-ish series in that regard, towards like certain arrangements and stuff like that. Anyway, I like those guitars. I think that sounds okay. We might volume gain it a little bit more, but for now, I think this is suffices. Bass, we will work on bass. Sunday. Evil face. Computer go beep boop. Yes, exactly, KJ. Computer does, in fact, go beep boop. Good job. Benjamin Parrish. What are you doing those fingers for? Don't be shy. Hell yeah. So my bass chain usually goes like this. Oh, where's it? Oh, I'm dumb. Bass preset. I kind of go back and forth with how I process my bass. But I've become a little bit better in being efficient and doing it in one uh track instead of having to do like, because what I used to do is I used to get the two bass tracks and I used to EQ one side for only like the low end and the other side for the high end. But the good thing with double tap, it kind of helps you already do that in a way. Um, Especially whenever like the bass is already distorted. Uh, most of the time, if I were to not do a distort and do it a DI, I'll put like a bass amp on or saturate it like to high heaven and make it sound like an amp on the high end. And keep that low end nice and clear. But I've gotten a little bit better with how I do things, uh, and being more efficient by using double tap and stuff like that. There are times where I will use infinity EQ, which I think I will be using right now. Give me 1 second. Low confetti. Oh yeah. Put that before double tap. There we go. Let's see how this sounds. Turn these off for now. Yeah, just a little bit. A lot of people like to cut off that sub end and that high end. Eh. I like that bass to come out a little bit more because it's already having enough trouble as it is. Uh, and with double tap, I like to have everything in. Double tap makes it really easy for the bass compress to be up to like the yellow parts. I like to get that second light on that yellow. And I'll go ahead and kind of bring it that low end a little bit more. Now that I think about it, I might bring in a sub, like an 808 type of sub to go along with this. But as of right now, I'm gonna try to keep it as bare bones as it is with a bass guitar. So I think this will do okay for now. And then aux comp. Saturated. Now, I want a little bit more presence. My ears are being blessed. 808 sub will go crazy, to be honest. Well, that's the thing. I do use the 808 sub sometimes, but that's like, again, for ranges like this, but I use it sparingly. I don't make it like, uh the soul thing. I just kind of fill up that sub spectrum that you don't usually get in rock and roll, especially if it's like this high of a tuning. So I might just do that. How does that sound? Context. Yeah. Immediately with the tape saturation, and it really brings out that bass present, but doesn't make it like the star of the show or anything. It's how, let's see how that sounds with the bridge section. I think this is where it's at. No, it's like around here, I think. Oh! Crazy. I'm trying to kill myself, apparently. Oh, that's the wrong guitars. Where is it? Don't tell me. Oh. Oh no. Oh, buddy, oh boy. That's crazy. Okay, so we're just gonna put that on mute. I think I rendered the yeah, the lead chords that I brought up earlier. Where did I put them? I think I put them somewhere that they weren't supposed to go. Because all of a sudden, like that just jumped out of my face. Where did I put it? Here, let's see. Oh, it seems like I didn't. So where did it go? Because it shows up here. Huh. Okay. Whatever. For now, we're just gonna keep it like that, and we're not gonna listen to it. We're gonna listen to the other parts of the song. Smooth it out a little bit here as well. Man, my computer's lagging. There we go. Again, like soothe isn't necessarily like needed for bass, especially in this context, but the frequencies like to add up a little bit, and I think that's what matters. Making sure that they don't add up to a crazy amount between guitars and bass. Come on, come on. Where are we? I think that's pretty good. I think I like that spot. Now we gotta mess with the mix a little bit. Right before PC. My favorite thing to work on when I'm mixing, I would probably say drums. There's so much shit that you can do with drums and take it from like one thing and just make it completely different. Completely different. Which is really cool as an audio engineer. It's literally like fucking magic at some points with what you can do. I think I like that for Soothe. Um, that's pretty much my favorite thing. Everything else is kind of like straightforward, and you just like I just want to keep the what it is and keep it the same. Um, yeah, like for example, guitars, bass. I don't like processing that to high heaven and making it completely different. But I would argue it'd be different with drums. I feel this not the same thing with drums. I feel like with drums, it's anyone's game with that, and I like that. Um, okay,
So we've got everything going on. And I think the next part will be limiting the bass. I like to limit my bass. I like to really staple that motherfucker down. Um, so that it doesn't go anywhere. Why would you want it to go anywhere? I don't like dynamics for my bass unless it's absolutely necessary. Then I'll automate it if anything. If anything. So let's see where this is. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do that like that. So with the bass, whenever I limit it, I want that little attack, and it also does a pretty good job of like keeping that sub very consistent. I like doing that. So I upped it by 13 dB. Let's put it down by around the same. Pair it up with guitars for now. Oh. Here, I'll go ahead and put the limiter here. And actually, no, it's fine. Let's go ahead and render this out. I think it'll be okay if we're able to render it out. And I'll go ahead and go over whatever I did on stream today again next time with a little bit more CPU and uh understanding how like I did everything, because this is kind of not nice, but I appreciate the patience. And like also like correct whatever I did wrong. So for example, this could be like a really bad mix, but I'm not able to tell with the context with the music. We'll be able to find out later though. No, you don't get to see that. Okay. What happened? Sure. Oh, the bass sounds so nice. Thank you so much, Tensha. Really do appreciate that. Yeah, I like the bass too. It's such a you don't hear much like bass like that anymore. Very natural, very finger picked. I feel like nowadays, like you're just wanting a crazy amount of just I don't know. Like you can't even tell what the bass is playing. So thank you. Good job to yourself too. Thank you. I think after this, I might just call it. Maybe. So, thank you, Benjamin. Appreciate it. Oh, yeah. And render that out. Bring this back down. I want to kill you nor me. I think that's what happened with the guitars. I accidentally didn't add another track, so that little piece where it's like crazy with the it got messed up like that. Put this in. Put this and process stems, and then we'll listen like this. See if I can add the drums. course, there's other elements, but you're not gonna be able to hear it because my computer is begging to kill itself right now. So my eyes are confused. Mixing looks complex. Um, it is, especially to the untrained eye. But as you learn, I would assume it's kind of like art. Different brushes, different strokes achieve different results, but you kind of need to learn like what those brushes and those strokes are for. And it's the same thing with mixing. It's the same thing with music. It looks crazy, doesn't look understandable whatsoever, but as you go along and you figure it out, it makes sense within time. What does it sound like with the radio? Gotcha. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it for today. I'm sorry that my computer started to like absolutely shit itself during this project, but we'll go ahead and visit this probably around next week, hopefully, and continue this and be able to get more of a complex understanding of what exactly uh, I'm doing with the mix and full context and everything. So yeah, thank y'all for coming. I really, really do appreciate it. Kind of a reminder. I mentioned this a little bit in earlier part of the stream, but I will be doing another stream, not for this project, but I will go ahead and be doing a vocal mixing process uh, on Sunday, 1 p.m. CST. Be there or be square. See you, Ultra Roby. Yeah. So keep that in mind and peace out. Thank you so much. Bye bye.